I'm sure you have felt the uneasiness of being home alone. Normally, there's people there with you, but not tonight. After the movie, you climb into bed. Do you usually hear those noises? Did you just see somebody walk by your window? Join Mr. Davis and I as we share with you 5 true Home Alone horror stories. I was home alone one night when I was a teen. Everything was fine until I woke up in the middle of the night to get some water. I walked out of my room, down the stairs, and as soon as I hit the bottom landing, I saw that there was a figure sitting in the old chair in our living room. I stood there for a few seconds, completely in shock and terror. The person sitting there began to move and stand up. I turned and fled back up the stairs. I ran back into my room and slammed and locked my door. Completely in tears, I sat on my bed in the dark, staring at the door. My dad appeared at my door not 10 seconds after I closed it and asked why I just slammed my door and what was going on. I opened up for him, and in between my sobs, I told him I saw somebody downstairs. I asked if it was him, and he said no, that he had just come from his bedroom right next to mine. It was just the two of us living there. He checked the house and found nobody except an old-looking business card for this hotel in our city. It was tucked between the cushions of the chair. He checked into it, but nothing became of it to my knowledge. It was the scariest night of my life.
I was living in the country when this happened to me. I was a teenager and it was late at night. I was the only one at my house. I was walking through my house at some point in the night, and through a back window I saw a person standing in my backyard out by our fence next to the pasture. I don't remember what time it was, but it was definitely late enough where this made no sense, and it was very creepy. The person appeared to be looking at me, and for the first few seconds after I saw them, I was so scared that I couldn't move. I looked out at them, and then they started moving. I squinted my eyes to see more clearly, and the person was slowly walking towards me. This triggered me to move again. I went back into the kitchen where I just was and called my parents. They told me that they were already on their way home and were almost there. This was music to my ears, but I was still very nervous. I peeked around the corner to look out the window with the phone still in my hand. To my absolute horror, the person was standing at my back door. I freaked out and told my parents to hurry. My dad told me to go outside and run down the driveway, but my mom interjected and told me to stay inside. I opted to listen to my dad and opened the front door and started springing down the long driveway. As I ran, I could see my parents' headlights, and I felt safe when I met them in the road. We all sat in the car deciding what to do, and my mom called the cops. They took a long time to get out to us, and when they escorted us back to the house, none of us found anyone, and it didn't appear that anyone had entered the house. Nothing became of it, but damn, I really did see somebody out there that night, and it was the scariest thing to see. Like 2 years after I saw that person, I walked over to my dad, who was talking to a neighbor at our front door. I had never spoken to the person, but I said hello, and noticed that there was another person sitting in their car out in the front of our property. The person sitting in the car was the same person I saw that night. I almost had a heart attack.
I was with my brother and his friend when this night started. Our parents were out and about, and it was just the 3 of us there. We were playing video games for a while before David, my brother, and his friend Alex decided to leave and go back to Alex's house. I told them I didn't want to be alone, but they just laughed at me and made me feel like a sissy. The plan was for them to stay there with me, but Dave called our parents and they said it was okay. When they left, I was a bit creeped out. I didn't like being home alone, especially at the age of 11. I called our parents again once they had left to see how long it would be before they got home. They told me an hour or so, and so I just decided to play more games before they got home to keep my mind occupied. I was pretty into the game I was playing when I heard David and Alex outside the dining room window messing around, trying to scare me. Even though I was sure it was them, it did scare me. I got up and yelled at them to stop and to just come inside. I told them I just got a new high score and they should check it out, but they didn't respond to me at all. A minute later, I saw them walk by the window and I grabbed the phone and called David's cell number. When he answered, I about threw up because I could hear Alex's mom arguing with him in the background, and the TV was on really loud. I didn't quite know what to say or do at first. I was so scared. The figure stopped at the window again, and then they tried to open it. After that, I told David there was 2 people outside of our house. I ran to my parents' room, which was dark, and ducked down next to the bed in the corner. David was asking me questions, but I didn't understand him. I told him again to come home. He did sound scared on the phone. Thankfully, he never hung up, but all the lights in the house suddenly turned off. I could hear him telling Alex what was happening, but I tuned them out. I was listening for noises. I really felt like this was the end of my life, and I swear, parts of my life flashed before my eyes. I wondered what my friends at school would say. I wondered who would show up to my funeral. All these thoughts in a split second. I heard a window break, and hallelujah, I forgot we had an alarm system. It started blaring, and I couldn't hear David on the phone anymore. I sat there in the dark. The noise eventually was silenced, and I heard a voice call out, "Hello?" I somehow could tell it was a police officer, and I made my way back to the foyer. I guess the 2 would-be intruders left after the alarm went off, and my parents didn't show up for another 30 minutes, even after the cops had called them too.
When I was 13, I lived with my older brother and my dad. One night, I think it was a Friday, my brother and dad were both gone. My brother was out with his friends and my dad was out on a date, if I remember correctly. So I was home alone. This wasn't a big deal. It happened pretty often. I was playing Resident Evil 3, I remember, when very abruptly, somebody started shaking the front door handle to my house. I was sitting in the living room playing, and this happened right next to me. Of course, at first, I thought it was either my brother or my dad, until somebody started messing around with the back door. I got scared and just sat there in fear. Nothing like this has ever happened before, and I didn't know what to do. The 2 people at the doors began to aggressively try to open them. I could hear the person at the front door was a man, and he was making grunting noises. I got up and ran into my dad's room in the back of the house. I turned off the lights and then climbed into his closet. I covered my body with clothes and lay down in the closet when I heard the front door burst open. I was very scared, as you can imagine, and I remember I was trying to breathe as quietly as possible, which seemed impossible. I heard the man walking through our small house and let the person in the back in. They walked through the house and eventually opened the closet door. I held my breath and they didn't know I was there and moved on. They left after about 5 minutes, and when I gained enough courage to come out, I saw that they had stolen some electronics. My dad's laptop, a camera, and some DVDs, I think. I called my dad and he came home right after. I was left home alone many times after this incident, and thankfully, nothing else ever happened. I've always wondered what might have happened if they found me in that closet.
This happened on a Friday. I was in high school, and I had just walked home after school. I walked into my house, and my parents weren't home yet. This was typical. They got off work at 5, and I was always home alone for a couple hours after school. I was sitting in my bedroom watching TV. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, and my bedroom door was open. As I was watching, someone walked by my bedroom very fast and scared the living shit out of me. I'm an only child, and I knew that whoever had just walked by was not supposed to be in my house. I got up and thought about jumping out of my bedroom window. I was very creeped out and decided that was probably the best idea. I opened my window and crawled out. Luckily, my bedroom was on the first floor, and when I hit the grass, I turned around and looked up at my window, mortified that I'd see somebody standing there or somebody about to jump out after me. Relief. Nobody was there. I ran to the gate, and the damned lock was so old and rusted, it made so much noise trying to undo the damn thing to open it. I got it open after making so much noise and ran to the street and started going down the sidewalk. I stopped, and my heart sank when I realized I had changed my pants into gym shorts when I got home, and my cell phone was still in my jeans pocket. There was no way I was going back inside, but I did start walking back toward my house, and when I reached it, I stopped and tried to see somebody through my front window. Of course, I didn't. I walked up to my front door and very quietly opened it. It creaked open very slowly, and as soon as the door stopped, after hitting the closet door behind it, I heard somebody say, "Get out." I sprinted away and called my dad at the grocery store that was kind of close to our house. He came to the store to pick me up, and I told him we should call the cops, but he wasn't afraid, and he just walked right into the house when we got home. Nobody was in there, and he assured me that he checked everywhere. I only went inside when he said he was 100% sure there was nobody inside the house. Early the next morning, I woke up because my bedroom was freezing. I sat up and my window was wide open. It was winter and there was no way in hell I would leave it open the way it was. I told my dad, but he of course didn't really believe me. My mom seemed a bit creeped out because she could see how serious I was. Whoever had walked by my bedroom was still in there.